The Brandon Peters Show may contain explicit language and detailed plot points. For more information on the show, stay tuned to the end of the episode. And now, here's Brandon.
Welcome back to the Brandon Peters Show as we conclude, for now, our Scream series and the traveling to the Big Apple with me for this adventure. Not really, like just a metaphorical Big Apple. Jessica Alsman.
Hello. I don't know what that was. That's my Big Apple scream. Hello.
Like I thought it was like slightly Australian too.
That
Like
was really
hello.
I could just say hi. Hey.
All right. Your best ghost face, Greg McGoon.
I don't know how to top that. Hello, Jessica.
I know,
So
really weird.
how's it going, everyone?
Hey, what's your favorite scary movie?
Top of the morning. What's the favorite?
All right. So today we are here to talk about Scream 6, presented by Coors.
Yeah.
Stab the Rockies. Up top, this conversation is going to be all sorts of spoiler centric about Scream. It came out a weekend plus 4 days ago when this is dropping. It's been out. Go see it. I don't listen to things if I haven't seen it, so I'm never worried about the spoiler warning, but I know people do. So if you're one of those people, it's like, I'm gonna listen to these folks chat about this new movie and then make my decision as to whether to go see it in the theater or not. Don't pick this. Don't pick this. Come back to this, because I know there are some hot opinions on this one. You won't want to miss them. You won't believe number 4. Well, not that we have bullet points, but spoiler warning. This is it. This is done. I'm now going to play the trailer for Scream 6, so you have even more time to turn this off and not accidentally hit 30 seconds button. So we're going to talk Scream 6.
He followed us here.
So what do we do now?
This isn't like any other ghost face.
Behind you! Come on, mother!
It's for you.
Hello, Gail.
Scream, only in theaters March 10.
Directed by Matt Bettinelli-Open, Tyler Gillette, known as Radio Silence. Written by James Vanderbilt, Guy Busick, on characters by Kevin Williamson, starring Melissa Barrera, Jenna Ortega, Jasmine Savoy Brown, Mason Gooding, Dermot Mulroney. A credited main cast: Roger Jackson, Jack Champion, Josh Segarra, Liana Liberato, Devin Nakota, Tony Reveloria, Henry Zerny. His mission, should he choose to accept it. Samara Weaving Skeet Ulrich is back with Hayden Panettiere and Courtney Cox. This one, of course, follows Sam, her sister, and the Meeks twins to New York, where they've moved after the last movie and are being stalked once again by Ghostface in the Big Apple. Who's doing to them and why? I don't know, but old pals Gail Weathers and the long-awaited return of Kirby, now an FBI agent, are there to help them solve the case. So we've been excited for this one, and it's finally here. We've seen it. I've seen it twice. Greg's seen it twice. Jessica once.
Only once.
But that once was with me, so it's great, right?
It was
the
wonderful.
big one. I hadn't
try
seen
not
one.
to talk. There's sometimes I want to be like, hey, did you? And I'm like, no. Just
It was weird
shut up and
because
save it.
Greg's like, are we allowed to talk about this? Like, I know you and Jessica see it together. I'm like, we'll probably chat a little bit. And Jessica would say things. She's like, did you notice this? And I was like, yeah. It's like, or I didn't notice this. And she's like, okay. And that was like it. I'm like, okay. She didn't want to talk about the movie yet. She's saving it.
A little bit.
So
the main thing I did bring up was like, wow, that movie was sponsored by Coors, because there's a lot of Coors Light and
there
Coors
is
beer featured, Coors Edge.
The first
Whatever
time we
that
see,
is.
first time we see Cute Boy, he's carrying a Coors. The bodega place is decked out in Coors. Like there's the glass on the freezer or the cooler is Coors. The can that she picks up off the ground to distract Ghostface is Coors. Like it is all. I'm sure the Subway had some.
I'm
Coors
sure that
in it.
college party had quite the Coors cases.
Would you like me to get you a cup of beer from the Coors keg? So
Whereas,
yeah.
like, whatever, son gets smash faced.
So in like movies when they generically order a beer, in this one it's a Coors.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we saw it in 3D. Greg, you also saw it the first time in 3D.
Apparently, I saw both in 3D. I didn't think the second time I was seeing it in 3D,
Oh.
and then they had the glasses, and I said, "Okay, I guess I'm seeing it in 3D again."
So what'd you guys think of the
I didn't
3D?
notice.
Didn't notice?
No, I didn't really. The second time, I really didn't notice an impact on it because I specifically like paid attention to the scenes that you had mentioned, where you like the 3D of the ladder scene and the alley, like the ladder scene and a couple other moments. It didn't really. I didn't notice much of a difference. With the 3D the second time. I think the first time maybe I noticed it. Second time I was like, why am I wearing glasses?
Well,
so that was kind of
first time I mentioned, I was like the alley scene at the beginning, the window crawling scene, and
Yeah, the ladder.
then there's a shot off the back of like Sam as she goes to head off the stage. Whenever she's like, "Why did everybody disappear? Why did we split up inside the theater when we're supposed?" That thing. There's a big shot of her, but then when I saw it the second time, it was not in 3D. I'm like, oh, just good cinematography from these guys. That's it. It didn't matter. Thought it might have, but there's some little added depth, but nothing you're not already getting from just a well shot movie.
exactly.
So Jessica and I had a fun experience with our theater late at night where I entered and I went to, there was nobody there to like at this ticket scanning place. It's like, huh. And I went over to the front counter. I'm like, is there? He's like, is there like no one back there? I'm like, no, it's cool. You can just go. I'm like, oh, okay. All right. And then I'm walking. I'm like, wait, it's 3D. I'm like, so walk up to him. I'm like, hey, it's in 3D. Do you have? He's like, so like around the podium, like under it, there's like a tub, and you just grab some. There's some glasses in there. And you grab them. I'm like, all right. And then like I got the podium. There's like a sign that was like a back in 5 sign type thing, or like it was like go to the front to have your thing scanned. Then I'm like realized I'm like, wait, I get like rewards and stuff for scanning. So I go, hey, I would babble. I'm really sorry, but like, can I get my thing scanned because I don't think it recognizes I went to the movie if I don't scan it. It's like, oh yeah, sorry. Okay. And then this is also a theater I told Jessica I went to one time, and the guy was literally pirating Red Sparrow right next to me. Like he had his thing up. There was like a little light coming off of it. And I told the kid, I was like, hey, they're pirating the movie. He's like, they're what? I'm like, they're pirating the movie right next to me. Because I didn't want to get kicked out by association with this guy. He was the seat right next to me. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, he's got a camera. He's like, I was like, he's streaming the movie from his seat to people or something. He's like, I gotta check it out. And I came, the kid walked up to the front, looked, and then walked out. And nothing happened. And I just asked the guy, could you just turn the light off on that thing for me? Because it's bugging in the corner of my eye. But yeah.
Gosh.
And then you had fun when you got in there, Jessica, today.
Yeah, I did. It was fun. Just a nice little line for the concessions. But hey, when we went to scan our tickets in, it's like, all right, I don't have to talk to anybody. Just gonna grab these glasses and go. But the sign was like, go to the concession stands. Like, nope, I was already there. I'm not going back. I will not go back. And then everyone that was approaching the podium, though, I think Donnie was like, what theater are we? I was like, just follow the crowd. We're the only ones here. It was really weird. But once all the folks going to watch the movie, I don't know. I feel like we ran that theater that night, if that makes sense, because everyone was very respectful of the movie going experience,
right?
Unlike the actual movie theater.
Well, it was lots of groups of friends like meeting up. There was one like in the lobby I saw that like in front of us we had like a group of people that were all like, oh, we're at Scream Times. Like, oh, this is cool. I like this. I like
this. Did you notice if it was different generations? I didn't really pay attention.
It seemed like older people, I think.
Like my age older, or
they might have been, I don't know, in our 10-year wheelhouse.
Okay.
From your age to my age and beyond.
Because I
How's
didn't
that?
notice any new generations, like new Scream fans that might have just
Yeah.
watched it last year for the first time or something like
Yeah.
that. They looked like all the OGs, if
Right.
you will.
Well, when I went Sunday again, it was like less crowded theater, but I went to the Imagine theater. So we had a theater, Greg, that was an IMAX theater and then closed during COVID and has been reopened as Imagine with their IMAX theater. But I hadn't been there yet. I just figured it was the same thing, just redone. No, have you been there, Jessica? Since
No.
I went in, they had like a piano with somebody playing it in the lobby.
Aw.
They have a really well put together concession thing where you go up, you start talking to people who hand you stuff, and then you get to a register. I got popcorn, and they said real or fake butter, and they filled the popcorn like way over the thing. And then when I was walking in, the guy's like, "Hey, you got your ticket?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, here's my credit card." He's like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Oh, he's just like, I just wanted to help you out, tell you it's down there." I'm like, "You don't
Oh
need to
my
say
gosh.
anything." I'm like,
People were
"Oh,
there working and helping and
yeah." And then I get in the screen. It's where the IMAX used to be, but it's not an IMAX screen. It's an actual like 240 16:9 screen, which is what a theater should be, which would close in from the sides when it's in 185. That's rare nowadays, especially AMC, which closes on, does the opposite, which you're not supposed to do. But that's the age we live in. And not only reclining seats, heated seats with
What the
two heat
heck?
settings, and an instructional video on how to use it before the movie starts.
Oh my gosh.
And it was the most pleasant experience. I'm like, whoa, this place, and they've redone some, like it's got classic movie posters, like nicely framed and stuff all around, but it's like it's the same building, just a lot better done, real clean feeling night. And like that theater screen, I'm like, we're going to Shazam this weekend, and I'm like, told my wife, I'm like, oh, we're going to this. We're gonna go. I'm gonna show you this. You're gonna like this
So
because
fancy.
yeah, it was really nice. And there's space, like, so when you put your recliner up, like people can walk in front of you still. So I was really impressed with that one. And Dolby Atmos sound. So
Nice.
Was
yeah.
your theater nice, Greg?
Yeah, I went to a standard AMC. It was great.
Gotcha.
What was really funny is I got there about like 20 minutes before the movie started.
Mhm.
It was entirely empty. The theater was
Oh,
empty.
Wow.
But it was a sold out movie, so I'm like, are we in the right one? Like, what is happening right now? Why are we the first ones in the theater? And like, sure enough, right before the movie started, it was completely full. But I just was shocked that no one was in there, and I was like, this is kind of creepy. Like, I actually went outside after 5 minutes to go. Let me just double check that this is the right showing of it. I
yeah.
just had no idea, but it filled up. But yeah, it was just a standard AMC with the reclining chairs. Okay, they don't recline backwards really. They just like leg rest up, which
Oh, so you were in
is
the Atmos theater. So some of them, so their Atmos theater, well, that has a different chair than their other theaters. So they have ones that recline back and up like this, but I've noticed in the Atmos theater, it just kind of like angles you a little bit and then puts the
yeah,
leg right up. So that's the
yeah.
Atmos seats. I don't know why they're different, but that's how they go with that one.
And I still don't know the difference between like there's real 3D, laser 3D, something else, and like all the variations. I
Yeah.
saw it in laser twice. So yeah, that's it. But it was good. The second time it was like maybe 9 people in the theater.
Yet this
So
movie
sold
made
out
like
for-
44 million over, like it blew the expectations. Like it
Really?
was
Yep.
it was thought it might hit 50, but it wound up with like 44. But 37, I believe, was the projected opening weekend, and it blew past it. It's the highest grossing opening weekend for a Scream movie. Scream 3 had the record before that. That's how crazy it is. So,
Wow.
but that's really good. We'll talk about the future at the end of this, but
I wonder if it's because people don't want to be spoiled with who the killer is.
well,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
And
the opening
the little
weekend.
reset, if you will.
Yeah. But I mean, the marketing was so brilliant on this movie that I mean, like, I feel like if you go see it, you just like failed a part of pop culture history.
And it's well liked. I mean, it had good reviews. And early buzz was good from people who saw it. Critic reviews were positive, and audience scores been even more positive. So it's looking good. Like this is I believe the third, if you go by the Rotten Tomatoes, it's the third highest rated Scream movie of them. And then the audience scores high, but that'll change when streaming happens, of course. Like the last one where people liked it, and then the people who stayed at home and just were on their phones or not getting that surrender to the movie experience will, and because people told them it was good, they'll go in wanting to tell them it wasn't. So there's always that.
Yeah.
You always get that. But first early impressions of this movie, I liked it quite a bit, and then I saw it a second time and I still liked it quite a bit. Pretty high on this one. I think overall I'm pretty much I like it about the same as the last one, about even. I think it has some cracks there that I've thought about, but they don't really bother me. But I think it does some things better than the last one. But I think the last one's kind of a smoother sailing. This one takes chances where the other one kind of, it's got that Woodsboro, got that original Scream thing to kind of float by. This one's going into new setting, a little bit more ambitious with things. I don't know, but I was really happy with it. Jessica, how about you?
No, I really enjoyed it. I like that they took it to New York City because there's like a lot more opportunity versus like, oh, we still have to dance around Woodsboro and worry about where's Sydney and yada, yada, yada. And they handled that scenario very well. And it's like, this is the one time Sydney didn't show up, which we all know why, but at the same time, it makes sense. Why would she literally fly across the country to go be around?
I'm just going to stand here,
so,
guys.
They're like, I told Sydney, yeah, great. Stay over there with Patrick Dempsey or whatever, with Mark on the West Coast. But it was a lot of fun. I liked all the kills, like the gore and what they were showing. And the whole opening scene was fun and a twist.
We will get to that, yes.
I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. Greg?
Now that I've seen it twice, I definitely like it more than 5 as a whole. With that being said, 5 was more consistent, I think, for me, because I think the stuff that I didn't like in 6, now that I've seen it twice, I really didn't like, but the stuff I loved in 6, I like put it in some of my top of all Scream stuff.
Yeah.
So like it's not like my favorite Scream right now, but it has some of my favorite moments, but it also has some stuff that are my least in the franchise. So but it kind of now falls in the middle for me of all the Screams.
Gotcha. Let's talk about the opening of the movie, and then I want to talk about let's go with talk about characters and then kills and subsequences. But the opening of this movie is really nifty. You get Samara Weaving, who is I wonder how many people idiots went to this thinking Margot Robbie was in a Scream movie this weekend, because that's the funny thing about that. But then the funny thing is, it came full circle in Babylon, where they had them face to face with each other in a funny scene that kind of commented on that. So Samara Weaving is here in the opening, which I don't know why I was like, oh yeah, duh. Like when the movie started and she gets the call, I'm like, oh yeah, no shit, she's gonna be like the opening kill in this. Because I remember she's in it, and then I'm like, I don't know why I didn't even just go to that. But the opening has her, being this slasher professor and gets lured out thinking it's a date into the alley where she gets killed, and then the unmasking of a ghost face in the opening, who goes back to his apartment and you see a collection, and he ends up getting murdered as a opening kill duel thing, which played upon my idea of wouldn't it be cool if a killer got killed in the opening and we had to find the rest of them? What's there? So thanks, Radio Silence, if you listen to any of the podcasts or things I wrote about Scream 5 last year, because I know you could tell with this movie they saw feedback or saw people's theories, saw stuff, and they toyed with it here. There's a lot of toying with fan ideas and stuff. I'm I love these guys, because they have stuff just like there's a thing with Gale where they're like, you'd have made a great killer, Gale, or I'm like, oh wow, that's crazy. So yeah, he gets killed in this opening thing, and I want to point out, what I told you guys I like is when the Scream opening sequence is a nod to a past slasher movie. This one is
Mhm.
Friday the 13th, Part 2, because in that movie, Alice is wandering around her apartment. She talks on the phone with somebody, and then she goes to her fridge and opens it, and Jason's mom's head's in it, and she gets stabbed with an ice pick in the head and dies. And this one, they have Friday the 13th. Jason takes Manhattan because they have to acknowledge it somewhere there in there. And then he finds his friend, his head, and the rest of his body in the fridge, and he gets stabbed and killed. And then later in the movie, Mindy mentions Friday the 13th Part 2 is her favorite. So I'm like, that's intentional. Check. Thank you, Radio Silence, for that. But what'd you guys, the opening, did it throw you for a loop when he took the mask off and it kept going? And
I
then
thought we were gonna know
Tara
the
was
whole
there.
time.
I was like,
we're gonna have Ghostface. We know the entire time. That's actually what I thought until he gets his phone call, and then you're like, oh, okay. But for someone that's trying to be like a killer, why didn't he catch on sooner? That like this was still a setup. But
Well, he
I would
almost
pick
caught
that.
on when he asked the caller how long they've known each other,
uh-huh.
and then the caller got it correct because he was like, "Wait a second, how long is it that we've known each other?" And there was like that slight pause, and then he was like, "8 years. We met in middle school." And he's like, "Okay." Um, but it was, I mean, I knew she was going to be the first death. That I predicted before, like just based on the trailer and the posters. I knew she was dying first. So when I saw her sitting at the desk, I was like, well, that was obvious. When she got stabbed and he was like over her body and did that final swipe, which I'm still confused on where that stab would have gone because he like stab really aggressively in the thing. The final one looked like he was gonna slit her neck, or at least the motion of it was, but you don't see where it lands, and then it like pulls back, and she doesn't have a slit neck or like a slash across her body. It's more just like punctured. So I was kind of confused on where that final swing was.
Well, I
That
think
got
I think
splatter.
I think it's meant as a fake out, like you think the title's gonna come on. So I think it's
Yes.
more cinematic than it is realistic because I think they wanted you to think the title would come.
Exactly. Well, that's the point, is you're waiting for like the
Mhm.
slash to do it. But instead of the title sequence, you got the blood splatter across his mask.
Mhm.
That's when the actual blood went across his mask. And then he like looked at her and took it off. Thought that was genius. Thought that was believable. Lived in New York for 9 years, so that could easily happen if you're in an alley. And that to me is more logical than Sarah Michelle Gellar's alley death in I Know What You Did Last Summer. I was like, I believe this one a little bit more than that one, unfortunately, which was nice. I thought the pacing of, I don't know, I thought the second half was good. I thought it was like a long opening.
Oh yeah.
So I feel like it could have been kicked up a notch. I think the first time watching it, I was so like, what's happening? Second time, I'm like, all right, let's get to the point now. Um, so that's my thing, is the opening doesn't hold up as much on a second watch as it did on the first, for me at least.
Gotcha. I it was funny because I was like, when I saw him, like, oh crap. And then you had all that Argento stuff that you were all asking me about because of that, and nothing. Just that he was an Argento freak as a student. But and then there's a myriad of like posters and stuff in his apartment that you like want to pause and be like, what? But the first clue to the motive is in there. When he said, "Who gives a fuck about movies?" And I was like,
Yep.
just letting you
Great
know,
line.
this is not going to be anything about movies with the motive in the end. Which I've noticed with like these Scream movies with the motives and stuff. I'm always like, I can make guesses as to who's doing stuff, but I'm never like, this is why they're doing it. Except maybe Scream 3, it's like, well, there's some relative or something or whatever. But like, it's like, okay, why is Ghostface doing it this time? I could never pull that out of my ass or like piece together stuff. It's when I go back through them, I'm like, okay, there they go. But like, it's always like I could figure people, but I can't figure why the people would be doing it.
True. I'm still just bitter that they had a character named Greg who didn't even get to be a character in the movie. They killed Greg before he
Greg
ever
was-
got a dick.
It's Greg. Greg never got. Yeah, it's funny because you could say there's 5 Ghostface in this movie, but like Greg didn't get his chance. There's like 4 and a pledge I guess, because one went
Yeah.
through initiate. We saw the initiation night, and then Greg never got to
Greg was
initiation.
already beheaded at the beginning, which is kind of funny that later on when she's doing the whole speech about beheading and then they're doing a joke at the very end with the mannequins. But actually, and I didn't even think about that until like the second watch, I was like, oh, you open the movie with a beheading, but you don't see the beheading. But technically, the first kill is Greg.
Yeah.
So Greg was the very first kill in the movie. And then Samara Weaving's character, wait, is her name Laura in the movie or whatever? Then her, and then Jason. So Greg is officially the first kill of Scream 5. It just unfortunately we don't get to see his brutal beheading on camera. So damn it. I got a great death. I know, Greg got a great death, and you didn't even get to see it. I need unreleased footage.
At least you weren't the Frankie guy at the party.
Oh yeah.
At least that wasn't Greg.
That is true. I don't want to be that douche.
So.
Getting cased in the balls. Great scene though. Anyway.
So our returning characters now called the Core Four. As they were. How do we feel about them in this second outing? Did anybody improve? Did anybody go down? What do you say? Okay, Greg, you lead us off with this.
100% they are. These characters finally got fleshed out. They're no longer carbon copies. I will say Chad hated at the party, or at least I hated his initial interaction with Ethan. I was like, are they making Chad gay? Like, I didn't know what was happening with his first character because he was like, you're such a snack. Like, I was like, wait a second, did like Chad move away and like now find a boyfriend? Like, I thought that's kind of the direction
he's
they were going
shirtless
to.
with a cowboy hat. It's just with a cowboy hat and like, oh yeah. It's like, and his friend's like, I don't know. It's like, is he bringing his friend out of the closet? Is that what he's doing here? Like, what is he? Yeah.
There was some weird, and it was like good for Chad if he did it. So then when like Chad and Tara had their little interrupted moment at the beginning after the party, I actually audibly groaned in the theater. I was like, oh no, because I was, you're really gonna now push these two together. Okay, but as it progressed, Chad actually became more endearing, more likable. The whole Core 4 thing, not gonna lie, that's probably something I would have done if there was 4 of us. I would have probably nicknamed it.
It's so stupid, like, it works. Like it's really good, yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, it felt like a very like Big Brother TV show type of thing, being like, our alliance is the Core 4, and they're like, shh, like keep it together, like don't tell people. Like it kind of had that, but again, that's something I would do. So it gave me more insight into Chad. I bet he probably does watch Big Brother. So and again, I thought initially I was gonna hate the idea of Chad and Tara getting together. I didn't by the end. Mindy was more fleshed out and more likable, and I just like her overall attitude about just kind of being able to carry on with life the way she does. And the new girlfriend I liked, I thought she was sweet and endearing, and I liked the protectiveness. So yeah, I think Core 4 really nailed it. Sam definitely, like, they gave her depth, and I love the vilification of a hero that this movie did. So Sam now is one of the like ultimate final girls for me. Very different than like Nev Campbell, which is great, but also badass and has a real struggle. Not only is she had her life threatened and terrorized, but now personally she is a villain in her own heroicness. It's weird. And that is, I mean, I don't know how she's functioning as a human. So much respect to her. And Tara, impressive that she's recovered as well as she has after what she went through a year ago. But I believe her as an angsty teen. So all 4 of them fully believable in college and otherwise.
All right, Jessica, your thoughts on the Core 4?
Well, what's funny, at my work, we have a Core 4, and I refer to them as the Core 4 all the time. So when they're doing this, I'm like, boo. Now when I say it, people are going to think I'm taking off a Scream 6, and this is stupid. But besides that, it worked, even though for some reason I was offended for like the other originals, but I get it. They're the Core 4 that survived, blah, 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 blah. And they're all bonding because what they've been through. But I just love all their relationships together. I love they stay together. I love that Sam is like that overprotective sister, no matter what Tara says, because Tara's not dealing with the stuff that she should be. And I love that Sam's trying to get help in therapy, and therapists can't help her because they're like,
Mhm.
whoa, this is too much. We don't want to be like, which is kind of a bummer. So she's like, hey man, something's wrong and it's not me. Like there's other stuff going on, but I do have these tendencies. But like, I kind of enjoyed it. I just don't understand why they would write her off, I guess. But she is
Yeah.
honest. She's very
Yeah.
honest about her feelings. I don't think she's putting anything on, like faking anything or exaggerating. She's literally trying to do the right thing. I feel like the entire time throughout the movie. I like that she's got that hot boy next door,
Mhm.
which is nice. Um, you know, which I don't know how you just secretly have a relationship with other people not knowing, but that's
Easily.
really
Nobody's at his apartment.
Yeah, honestly, it is easy. That I'll
Easily.
give you.
and I
Okay,
guess she's not in school, so
that did confuse me a lot in the movie, especially the second time. She did actually kill somebody in the first movie. I mean,
Mhm.
Richie, who deserved to die because, self-defense, all that. But a therapist, like, she would have still had to deal with like police stuff. She would have, I mean, like, there wouldn't be a record of it, even if she didn't like get in trouble for it or
Right.
whatever. She would have she would have had a court appointed therapist or something of the sort that would have had her backstory in it. So
Yeah.
for this guy to be so confused, or for her to have gone through so many therapists, I don't understand how a therapist could have been so naive to her backstory or being shocked that she killed somebody, because
Well,
they should have already done that.
he's kind of an asshole at first. Like he doesn't believe
Oh,
what she's
boy.
saying. Like he's like, okay. Like she's like, oh, you want me to open up? And then she starts opening up, and she's like, my boyfriend was my father's a killer. He's like, okay. And it takes him a while before he's like, oh, she's not full of shit. Like
did she stab Richie 22 times? Was that it?
shot him in the head. Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
yeah.
So I feel like the therapist, like, she wouldn't just have a run of the mill therapist. I think she would be in some form of court appointed program to help her cope and deal
Mhm.
with it, where she has a very thorough and then all the previous therapists would have probably gotten information from the other ones, and just
Mhm.
I feel like it just, that to me, his reaction and his shock about needing to report it was bizarre. But then she like up and left, and then he was just like, oh well. But then later on in the movie, right before the therapist is or right after the therapist is murdered, they talk about how he reported her to the police. The therapist did report her to the police, but that there was still no repercussions, or we didn't see the
Mhm.
result of that action. I thought that was a little bizarre to me, just because she is such a public figure now after that
Right.
event. Why is therapy so confusing? Because, I mean, known murderers on trial who like own their actions have therapists and deal
Yeah.
with it. So like, why can't this poor girl who watched
Right.
people die in front of her, who self-defense like reacted to it, has struggling with a therapist, or who's scared of her, or yeah, that kind of, I mean, I honestly was really happy when the therapist died, because
Well,
I
it's just
thought he was
it's a plot mechanism to give us depth as to he had to report her. They had a feisty confrontation, and that needs to matter later. I guess. And then he
yeah.
dies. So that's
I
really
mean,
it's plot. He's more plot centric than he is anything else that has to do with,
agreed.
he's not really fleshed out.
So as the internet
He's just a
turns on
terrible
her
therapist.
though, like how everyone's starting to go after her, like she supposedly did all the killings
Mhm.
and framed Richie. Wouldn't the
Mhm.
police try to help her or set her up with something safety wise? Or are they just like, yeah, good luck out there?
Nah.
Yeah.
Like, you'll be fine.
If there was a serious threat, I mean, she's not. The thing with Sam is she's not on she's trying to lay low. She's not on a circuit. She's not doing books. She's not a big high profile figure. She's just a survivor of a horrific event. Like, and from what I can tell, Sam doesn't want to do interviews. Sam doesn't want to go. She doesn't want to. She doesn't want to exploit her story.
Which is even
So,
easier for others to tell her story,
which
or
is part of probably why she's here to begin with. I guess I don't know.
Man, how crazy the internet is.
Yes.
Like, that's the most believable
But
thing in this movie.
It is. It is.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's again, I'm with you guys. The core four rules. I liked him in the last movie. I like him here. It's odd that it's two pairs of siblings when you think about it. Like it's
Oh,
there.
right.
It's weird. And I think one of the things that Scream now has that the first four doesn't that other slashers don't is this sibling relationship between Sam and Tara that kind of fuels it. Like, I care about their personal relationship as much as I do them escaping a killer. Like, it's really messed. And Sam's a great, like, I liked her in the last one. I liked her even more in this one. She's such a unique final girl. She Barrera like plays this like, I'm fine, but I have this weird genetic thing, like flaw. Like, that's tough to do what she's doing in this, especially in a high intensity movie. She could want to rely on certain other aspects. She is like brilliant. I know everybody loves Jenna Ortega, but I think it's getting overlooked how good Melissa Barrera is in both of these. Like, she's fantastic. Mason Gooding's fun. Mindy, Jasmine, she's good. She's a good Randy. She's a Randy with depth to it. Like, this is a Randy that can stick around for more movies. And Mason Gooding, as I pointed out, like, he's Dewey. That's what he's become. And I even noticed during the franchise chat scene where she's giving the speech, he's taking notes like Dewey was in Scream 3. And
I saw that too.
And then he has the relationship with Jenna Ortega. And towards the end, when I was like, when they were taking Kirby to the ambulance, like, he's gonna be alive. They're gonna yell, "There's another one," because he just got stabbed like Dewey. I'm like, oh, it started coming to me, and there he was. He came out. So I'm like, there's your new Gale and Dewey. But Ortega's not quite Gale. She's not quite Gale. She's kind of, they're at odds with each other, Sam and Tara, which Gale and Sydney would be at odds, but in a much different way. That doesn't feel like Gale is a character consistently backtracking, especially in this movie, herself, every time except for Scream 4. That's the only movie where Gale has not taken 3 steps back at the start of it from where we were the previous movie, thinking things were going off in a more happier direction. But yeah, I like them. Mason Gooding, I'm glad they kind of, like, he's evolved very well from the last one, being like the jock guy to like a guy that he's kind of given up on that jock tendencies because he's been beaten before, but he reserves them for special situations, which
like
I kind of like. As a protector. As a protector. Like, but yeah, they're very, this is a very good group. That's the magic that they were right to. We can move on from Sydney and stuff. I think these are strong enough, and they are proven with another movie. Legacy characters we get in this one. We get Gale, we get Kirby. Gale, they kind of,
I love her in this, and I believe everything that I believe it, and I'll stand by their decision for Gale to go backtrack. I think Jenna Ortega's line was brilliant, or was it Sam's line, where they were like, about the book, and like somebody's gonna profit off of it, and I'm like, that is a Gale thing to say. Honestly, she lost the love of her life with Dewey after that, like, last time, and then she probably was lonely back in New York, felt irrelevant, didn't know what to do. She was like, you know what, I'm gonna jump on this book before I can't. Like, she's heartbroken, lost.
Here's the thing. I know a lot of people probably are complaining about like a huge backtracking, but here's the thing. Gail doesn't live in Woodsboro. She's probably only in Woodsboro till the funeral's over. It goes back to her life and then her readjust. She's probably had this boyfriend before she went back to Woodsboro for Scream 5. I'm going to guess. And that's fine. And she just seems really cautious around all the kids and people in this one. It's a really interesting way. And she gets a badass fight scene, which I wonder if they filmed that 2 ways and then decided, all right, let's leave the line about her having a pulse in, because it's kind of like, oh, she's okay. Well, this is a good, way to go out. But then, like, we have a light pulse. Oh, okay.
I thought it was weird that her man friend, or her boyfriend, who looked pretty jacked, got just destroyed so quickly. And then again, how she's been,
throat slit.
Like, they didn't get like body slammed first or picked up and thrown. It's just like, and then taken out, or was it just a sneak up behind and they took him out?
Sneak up behind.
Split,
and then she threw him through a wall.
How did Quinn throw him through that thing?
Was it Quinn?
Quinn is tiny.
It was her.
That man was big.
I'll give Scream 6 this. I can tell you who did every single kill in this movie. Like, it's clear as day, unlike the other ones.
Oh, I couldn't.
Agreed.
We'll get
This
to that.
one-
We'll get to that later.
Yeah, agreed. But Quinn did that one, which means she threw this hulking man through the thing, and
Or
that
pushed,
ain't
or
easy.
pushed.
Well, he was dead weight at that point.
Yeah.
Like even to prop him up, like she's not that big.
When you
Like, I
put
mean,
on the
I-
mask, you get powers.
It
When
is
you
weird.
Put
You
on
had
the
a
mask,
in
you
your
get
way.
powers.
Her hair was down. Again, when your bangs get in the way, things just it's super annoying. But I hate when people are just so functional with their hair down and a freaking mask on.
So
How'd she even get into Gail's apartment? That there's certain things that I still kind of wonder about. But anyway, we'll get to all that. But yeah, I loved Courtney Cox and what she did, and even Kirby coming back. She was well utilized and had a thing. And like that fake out there was that one shot towards the end that I was like, no, they didn't. Where they were setting it up for you to think that Kirby was the killer.
Here's
and
the
they
thing.
did that really look.
Here's the thing
Yeah.
with Kirby. Loved seeing Hayden Panettiere back. I like her. Some of that spark she had in Scream 4 is gone, but I think you could kind of tell she hadn't been in something for a while, which incidentally played to the benefit of the film, because when he said she hasn't been with the FBI I'm like, okay, that makes sense now, because she's kind of, but it was just kind of, she hadn't been in a movie in a while.
But her
Felt
reaction,
rusty, a little rusty.
Her reaction to seeing Jill's shirt in the shrine, though, was beautiful. And the knife.
Yeah.
Like she can act and nail all that. But again, like I feel like every character that was there, at least every legacy character and all like the main returning cast, everybody was utilized to properly propel the story forward.
Mhm.
Like Gail found the shrine, and that wasn't absurd because she's an investigative reporter. She did some digging. It fit her character. Kirby being FBI, she could go to New York and like contribute to an investigation if she felt like it. Like everybody, I felt like had a purpose in this movie, unlike other movies where,
I love when Dermot Mulroney is like, I was supposed to lead you guys to this and find it, but Gail Weathers,
who knew?
she's
She's
good at what she
actually
does.
really good.
Found it for
what she does.
like, yeah. So these new characters, let's move on to the new batch. And I gotta say, I'm gonna start with Ethan, who's the weird kid in the murder party costume, who I'm gonna nickname the actor Jack Box Office Champion, because he was Spider in Avatar. I had no fucking clue. He's aged because they shot that movie like 5 years ago. But he's the spider kid, the human kid with the mask on the whole time in Avatar, whose dad is the blue, or his dad's the Stephen Lang from the first one. I was like, holy shit. Okay, that's why he's a somebody. But Ethan, Murder Party. Nice shout out there to Jeremy Saulnier's first film with his costume at the party. But yeah, he's man, he's that guy who's supposed to be you are it. Like I kind of feel like Mindy was so mad she didn't call the killers in the last one that they were gonna. Well, she kind of did call a killer in the last one. She had Amber pegged in the last movie. So him winding up. I think that just the wildness of the reveals and not knowing how they went together for me was weird. But like, yeah, he's really wild when he's a killer. He is.
I hated him.
He is. Whoa.
I hated him. Hated him the second time. It just that second time watching, my hatred grew even stronger.
You are not a champion of Jack.
I'm not a champion. I don't know if it's his acting or if the way the character was written, but I mean, by the end of the movie, I was like, well, he's obviously the killer, but like, who else? I didn't know who else, but I knew he was because it was
even
just
after the subway.
Yeah.
Okay. The subway is supposed to make you go, oh, it's not him.
I didn't. I didn't. After a while, but
I don't know. I just hated the way he was written, and he was so naive and dumb, and the way he just kept like randomly showing up, and then like, what, I have an alibi. Like I was just like, what is happening? Like he just
well, they keep him around too. They force him around because they're like, keep an eye on you.
Right.
Which is good, but I mean, so it was like funny. It just was. I don't know. I don't his whole like meek like, oh, I'm so like, am I a part of the friend group? Like, shut up. Like you're sitting with all of them. Like, no shit. Like it just made me annoyed. Like, why say something like that? Or like even like his naivete to like when the phone call rings and even and Mindy's girlfriend even reacts and she's the one being like, get up to speed, mister, like, dude, whatever. Like it just like he's so naive, but in an ineffective way throughout this whole movie. It kind of bothers me. Like, I feel like if you're a part of that friend group or trying to infiltrate, you would make more of an effort to know all these little details rather than just play dumb the whole time. So it just was like, why are they friends with this dumbass?
I felt like he
that,
was a new addition, like he was coming out with them for the first times. Felt like he was
but he
sort
was
of
the
new.
roommate. So
He
Chad's known
was,
him for a while. So,
but
or
maybe
at least,
Chad hadn't brought him out ever or something. I don't know. I figured he was relatively new, or they
I
never
don't
bring
know.
him out much. So I don't know.
I
Okay,
didn't care about him.
Jessica, did you champion Jack?
I thought it was like adorably socially awkward for like a hot second, and then by I think the third time they keep calling him out like, "Where were you?" And he's like, "Well, I had an alibi. 100
Yeah.
people were in that econ class." And I go, "Well, they're not going to check with that. They don't have time to go and check. So, well, good for you. You get to make that up, I guess."
Well, you took
but,
econ last
but
year.
then I saw the subway, and I was like, "Ooh, he seems actually worried when she gets stabbed." So I didn't think he was until the end. And they're like, oh, yeah. Okay. And everyone's like, well, we all knew it was you.
Yeah.
But Mindy was very funny about he's like, oh, she called it. She called
Yeah.
this from the very beginning.
Called her and Quinn, his sister.
And I called, dude, I knew when Quinn died and they didn't take a body out.
Yeah.
Like, I go, mm-mm. That's when I was like, the sex positive.
Even the crying father?
He wasn't that. He would have been devastated not being able to go out and like hunt this guy down. I didn't believe it at all. That was the only thing. I was like, there's something fishy with the police. Like, I didn't know he was going to be a killer, but I did not believe for a second that she was dead.
Well, my big red flag was, I'm sorry. I lived in New York. I lived in a New York apartment. Okay, you're telling me she is sitting on the phone. This dude is behind her when Danny, the cute boy across the street, is like trying to flag it. And like she does not notice or like react or like have any suspicion that there is a man behind her. Like, I'm sorry. I like something, just that whole moment felt off to me where I'm like,
well, they have attached bathrooms. The bathroom goes out so that like they can sneak through.
Yeah, but even so, like the door was shut. He opened the door. Like if she had headphones in or something, I would give it to you a little bit more.
It's movie
Something
sense. It's not it's not. Yeah, makes movie sense, but real life wise.
But headphones would have saved that for me. It would have been a little bit more because like I'm not even joking. I paid attention the second time. Like her phone was literally like this far from her ear too. She wasn't even like resting it. It was far away.
Her boy toy was dead in the bathroom, so it could have been like, oh, she thought it was him walking behind her. So in the sense that she's not the killer, how could that happen? There was a dead body of the guy she was doing stuff with in the bathroom.
Oh, but how did he die? Because that looked kind of brutal.
She probably killed him.
Or her brother.
There had to have been yeah, because Ethan wasn't it, but yeah, one of the two of them did it.
Ethan is the killer in the apartment scene.
Ew, she was probably actually having sex with that guy, and then her brother was in the same room, and then he had to come out and kill him. Ew.
Yeah,
Okay.
so Ethan's the killer because Dermot Mulroney is at the apartment scene. Well, he's at another crime scene or something. Or no, he's asking. No, wait, he's not. He's clearly not the killer in that scene. I know they call and talk to him, and he's somewhere else at that point.
Yeah.
So it's clearly Ethan in the apartment scene.
Agree. Well, yeah, but it just the whole point of me saying is not like who did what. It's just there is no way that she would be on the phone the way she was and unaware of her surroundings that much for me to not be like something weird is going on here. I'm not saying it's bad in the movie. I enjoyed all of it, but there were so many things being like this does not work, and there's a reason because she was the killer, so it was all a fake out. So like the more you watch it, the more you see going like, there's no way this girl is not aware that there is somebody chilling behind her. There's no way that she's not even glancing out of that window. Or if you sense somebody is behind you, you're still on the phone being like, oh, I'm on, like turn your head and be like, I'm on the phone. Like you would do something, whether it's the guy, or you would just be like, okay, if you hear the door open, why wouldn't the guy just like get back into bed? Why would he just be standing there? I think it would be weird. I would have been like, oh, you're back in here. Are you just going to stand there? All those things made me go, something isn't right,
Well,
just the way it was.
If you're cute, boy, why didn't you throw something at the window?
Like a cool.
That's what I also said. I also was like, why aren't you throwing something at the
Mhm.
window?
You
I
have
was
that
very
ladder.
confused by that
There-
too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
very
wait.
confused.
So when her dad shows up, like, why would NYPD would not let a police officer go into a scene and find his daughter either? You know what I mean? So if she was fake killed, how did he get in to go check out the scene? And if there was anyone else from the police department there, why wouldn't they
Because
notice the body unless he kept them on? No one else showed up, but there
mean,
were sirens.
it's
He was first on the scene, which
First on the
means
scene.
maybe he got there before it was like reported as who, or because his children just did the murder and the fake out murder.
Yeah.
He could have showed up as a police and did that before the rest of the police came, being like,
Mhm.
I got a call, my daughter like
Yeah.
is dead.
Right.
That didn't bother me as much. It was just the logistics of like, yeah, why did Cute Boy not throw something at the window? And I was
Yeah.
yelling at him the second time at the screen too, being like, throw something. Like you had the foresight to like bring a ladder to bring them across, but you didn't have like the day before, or like you didn't have the 20 minutes earlier to throw something at the window before
Right.
shit went down.
Gotcha.
It was
Let's
weird.
talk. So
I'm sorry. What was her name? The roommate, the
Quinn?
girl.
Quinn.
So when she talks about how she's like, yeah, my dad's been really overprotective ever since my brother died.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
Boom.
think it was going to be Jack Quaid's character.
No.
I
Yeah.
was like, oh, is it going to be like Stu? I was like hoping it'd be like a Stu or something like that from the originals. But I was like, why would you say
way
that?
too? She's way too young for that.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know. I was
Um,
like, ooh.
Yeah. I liked when she was ghost at the end when she had her teeth knocked out and she was walking
Yeah.
on the stairs and drug the knife on the. I was like, man, you are creepy as hell. That like she's just like, hey, the bloody mouth and stuff. I was like, okay. I mean, you guys are just.
Well, I like her.
She was kind of like obsessed with like throwing curse words, like "shut your whore mouth," blah blah. But she was doing that stuff. But I'm like, when you were just quiet and grinning with your bloody mouth, you were very effective. But
I like her character.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did like her character. Even when before we knew she was a killer or anything, I thought
Yeah.
she was funny and believable and
Right.
like you. So yeah.
Yeah. Also, yeah. So in the apartment scene, they knock off Mindy's girlfriend.
Oh,
And that poor girl. So she's not in. We get her at the party. We get her in the franchise scene, and we get her in a couple apartment scenes. And this girl gets one of the spectacle deaths of the movie, and she gets not only stabbed, but the knife turned around inside of her. And then when they're doing the crawl between Cute Boy's apartment and theirs, she is thrown off and on her way down from falling, head lands on a trash bin and dead.
Oh.
Like, whoa. Just that
it was emotional.
all timer.
I got emotional. Yeah.
That's a good
I
sequence.
definitely. I got the second time seeing it, I actually felt more pain for her death. Because like I knew it was coming, but I was like, she's really likable. Like I really liked
Mhm.
her, and they just brutally killed her. And she's strong. For her to even attempt to climb that ladder after that knife went in her and was
Mhm.
turning, and like the close-ups and all that, for her even to attempt that, I'd be like, just kill me now, finish me off, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm jumping from the window. Like I wouldn't even try.
Yeah.
So
The thing they do that's good is they these new characters who aren't even, some of them aren't even around that long, they give them enough to do to remember them well. Like, because she is given the role of Tara at the party for being the one to first be like, okay, let's go home. Time to go home here. Let's go. Like they give her that rather than just being along Mindy's side during it. They give her some stuff to say during the apartment scene about like the news and stuff. And she's the one, if she asks a question, it's either funny or they answer it for her, as opposed to Ethan. They're like, shut the fuck up, dude. Because
mhm.
she asked the same type of stuff. but it's cute when she does it, but when Ethan does it, they're like, shut up, go away, dude.
Yeah.
But one of the most brutal deaths in any Scream movie.
Yep.
For sure. Short lived. But yeah, even Quinn, like Quinn's not there very long until the end, and you very clearly, it's not like when she pulls off the ghost face mask at the end, you're like, who was that? You know exactly who she was because they managed to give you some funny scenes. They gave you some dramatic scenes. She's got some heart to heart moments before she's off. So either you're also, oh man, when she's off, and oh shit when she comes back as a killer. So there's her. And Cute Boy, who bring him back for Scream 7. I'm
Oh,
down.
I hope so.
Uh
I'm so happy they finally gave like a nice, helpful boyfriend who actually doesn't like argue with the person he's dating and being like, okay, you're going through a hard time. I'm going to respect you. I'm going to walk away from this because you're telling me to, and that's what I need to
it's like,
do.
trust nobody. Not even me. I'm like, oh shit. And then and then like, you know, at the end when she's like, you're not words, bro. You gotta go. He's like, okay. It's like, oh shit. I was like,
Yeah.
because I was like, man, he is just way too going with the flow. Like he's too and no, he was genuine.
Was that
Yeah.
covered in the franchise rules that were laid out that if you expect it to be the boyfriend, it's not going to be the boyfriend?
No, it's always the boyfriend. That's one of them. It's always
Okay.
the boyfriend. And yeah, someone close or who hasn't been around for a while. But he shows up. They have that. He's funny. Like
Mm.
when he's like, core what now? They're like, it's not you. Just get
Aw.
get your
Yeah.
but he's just caring. Like when you watch it the second time, you're like, man, this is a good guy. Like he cares.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't give a shit that Melissa Barrera, like that Sam is just like on the news and stuff. He actually cares about her well-being. He asked her, the questions he asked her are like, I care about you with this stuff, not, celebrity stuff. And he drinks Coors. We know he's a good guy because he drinks Coors.
That's right.
But yeah, no, he's got some funny stuff.
Did you ever suspect him?
Somewhat. He's got a look. They cast him on purpose because he's got a kind of a like sinister look just to him. Like
Yeah.
but the funny thing is like he's on She-Hulk and he's funny. On that. He's pretty funny too, but it's kind of he's got a guy that you judge the book by its cover with his looks.
Yeah.
But he's actually a pretty funny, and he plays a genuine good guy on both these things. Where he's a lawyer that's not an asshole, and
And he's in the other two, the HBO show, The Other Two.
Okay.
And he plays kind of a bumbling, kind of good guy, doofusy type of person on that. So, I mean, like he has a type that he plays, but in this movie, they played up his kind of creepy factor in looks wise. But no, he was genuinely not. And they do like subtly hint that he could be a suspect because they go like, you just keep popping like, did you just show up or like were you already here? So
well, and my boyfriend lives on 96th Street or works right by 96th Street where Gail is.
Yeah.
So
my old neighborhood, I miss that area.
Dude, you keep popping up like I think it's Chad says that.
Yeah.
Like you keep and when they kick him out of the group to go to the theater, and Jenna Ortega goes like, nice move. Good one. And then at the end she's like, okay, cute boy. That was good. So yeah, cute boy. Yeah, he's a welcome return if he wants to. And then of course, I believe our last new character is Detective Bailey, played by Dermot Mulroney. Of course it's me. Which I'll go to this killer reveal. So I'll tell you how I felt during this finale. So I'm still here like, why are these people doing this? Cool as hell they had two Ghostface cleaning off the knives after they stabbed the shit out of Chad, which, Greg points out, like, people can get stabbed like that. No one could die. I'm like, well, that's the modern way of stabbing Dewey in the back in the second Scream, There's like, to make people, if you just stab someone once, like, they're probably not dead. So, so they enter it, and then when the Dermot Mulroney calls, and then that movie comes on, The Thing, and it's just like cheap shit. I'm like, what the fuck is this? I'm like, This isn't like Robert Rodriguez's Stab, which also noted Robert Rodriguez directed Stab 3. That is, there's the Scream store thing that opened up that we were talking about, Greg, the experience. They have a Stab 3 poster directed by Robert Rodriguez. So he finished it after Roman Bridger did not do it. So there's this weird thing, which ends up being a fan film, but I'm like confused as hell. Like, what is this stupid thing on here? Like, why? And then they reveal themselves. Like, why are they doing this? It's Richie's family from the first one. It's his dad and his siblings. And I was just like, oh shit. And I for some reason, and I love this, it's so tied to the one they made last time. It's not tied to like the Scream franchise as a whole, like they try to do every time. It's tied directly to the killer from the last time. And I was like, okay. And then it was Richie's fan films, and I felt like horrified seeing it. I was like, oh my God, it's creepy now. But I thought Maroney was fine. I thought he knew he was good when he needed to be this solid dramatic actor. Wasn't afraid to ham it up or camp it up either. I was a fan of his performance here. What did you guys think of Dermot, the ultimate orchestrator of everyone's doom? Go, Jessica.
I liked it. I just feel like it's really weird, weird family dynamic that they all bonded and got into this. The whole time I'm just at the end, I guess I'm trying to figure out, were they all like this and really hardcore into fixing movies, or is this just a hardcore revenge thing for Richie? So then I got really confused with that. And maybe overthinking that. But I believed he was actually a good cop for most of the movie, but then things would happen. Like when he's like, you go check on Kirby. And I'm like, don't you throw Kirby under the bus. She's fine. She's fine. Which then it's like, did she leave the FBI or did he make that up? Like,
he made that up.
He made that up. It was his last thing. He was hoping she would die before anyone found that out.
Which is good, but still, I don't know. I enjoyed him.
Like, I think the one thing that got me was like, I think I buy his anger because it wasn't just seeing his son dead. Like, she murdered the shit out of his son, and they're playing off him seeing that. Like, it wasn't just like, oh, they tried to arrest him or something, or oh no, they stabbed the shit out of him, slit his throat, and shot him in the head. Like, it's almost a mockery of, that thing. So, Greg, Dermot.
I liked him. I was, the one thing that I knew had to be a thing was when the trailer came out and they showed the shrine. I said, this has to be done by a cop. There's no way that this shrine and this evidence can be collected by somebody outside of a cop. I just didn't really see it happening. And sure enough, it was a cop that helped create the shrine through Richie for his son, blah, 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 blah. And they even like pointed that out, or like Gail pointed that out earlier too, with like some cops, like money speaks. So it wasn't shocking that he was the killer. I guess it was shocking that he was Richie's father.
Yes.
I think it was the family aspect. But then I was like, okay, so we just did Scream 2. It's the father avenging their child's death. Got it, noted. I do love, I loved when they were, I loved them as Ghostface. I didn't love them without the mask on, because I think when they were killing and the way they killed Chad and the double knife swipe and just all that beautiful, when it was the three of as a family together, I feel like there were so many missed opportunities right there, which didn't bother me, because Dermot Mulroney at the end was talking about his like pride, and there's such a special connection between father and his firstborn son and blah blah blah. I wanted fucking Ethan to snap and being like, fuck you, dad, or something, because like, what is this stupid guy doing his father's bidding when basically your father doesn't give a crap about you and is using you in a pawn for his murder spree to avenge his actual loving son's death? Like, it just, to me, was such a missed opportunity where I would have had much more respect for Ethan to being like, oh, I'm so tired of this. How much do I have to do to impress you, dad, or something? And then he like took out his dad, and then he went and like tried to kill everybody. Like, that would have been like Ghostface's.
I thought that was going to happen when he said that line the first time. I was like, oh shit.
And I just, that to me would have made it more interesting, where like we see ghost faces turn on each other all the time, like obviously Jill did with Charlie and everything else, but
Billy and
it would have
Stu
been
even, yeah.
Billy and Stu. um but like this would have been more fascinating, where it's like you're avenging your brother. Like I don't like this family is weird, like that they're that obsessed
Yeah.
with
Well, I
their dead
mean, look what
son,
they're
like,
doing. Yeah, Richie was weird
well,
too.
but yeah, like I believe Quinn is crazy. Like she pulled off crazy. Ethan, I just didn't believe. Ethan, I feel like he was doing it to impress his father or get closer to his dad because his dad and Richie had such a special bond. And it went nowhere. It just was like, no, Rich, they're like, no, Ethan, you just have no backbone and are kind of pathetic. Like he just was always pathetic to me, like even up until he died. And then he made that stupid joke Ethan did about like wanting to like poke Tara or whatever. And I was like, ew, this is just no, die, Ethan, just die.
He got it
Like
in the
I wanted,
mouth. He got it right.
yeah,
Yeah, she stabbed the shit
great,
out of him.
which was great. And then he got the TV on the head. But it just, I wanted him to go after Daddy, and that to me would have redeemed his character and made Dermot Mulroney's character more interesting as well. If Dermot then had to fend off his son by trying to avenge one son's death, he alienated his other son to the point where his then son, who was helping him, turned against him.
Yeah.
That little element would have elevated it. With that being said, visually, I think the ending was dope and I loved it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't think about that. Every
You
other
really
movie,
like the movies.
they've turned on each other. So if you're expecting them to turn on each other,
Maybe beforehand he's like, I'm gonna say some stuff that about him that I don't want you to get pissed off. But I'm gonna say, father and his first son's relationship is special, just to show them how deep. And they're like, just don't go off.
yeah, its monologue is very important to me.
Yes.
I've
So
been
which was-
practicing it in the shower.
Which is crazy when he shows up and he runs up and the ghost face come and they just stop and you're like, well, 3 of them. Okay. You're like 1, 2, and then he's apparently part of this. But yeah, you mentioned, so Greg, Scream 2, which the surprise of this movie is that it's a legacy Scream 2 sequel, because I was like, holy crap. And my mind just exploded with all this, which they point out college. Okay. And then there's the obviously park tracing operation, which actually surprises, and an OG gets attacked, Gail, which similar to Randy, which was off the path of the course. The movie ends in a theater, just like Scream 2 ended in this is a movie theater, but it was a stage theater. The ultimate killer was the parent or relation to the killer in the first movie. The opening killers were Mickey. Film students obsessed to finish Richie's film, like, I'm gonna make mine and blame the movies. It's a bullshit motive that was being used by the other one to get what they wanted. But Mulroney is Debbie Salt to Kirby's Gale. They're rivals in the same profession. You get a reprise of Dewey being carted out after he's dead. Chab gets stabbed, and we thought he was dead, only for Tara to be like, oh, as Tara watches him get stabbed after they have their romantic moment. Richie's fan films could be akin to the films of Mickey shooting his killings or shooting his stuff from the second Scream. And yeah, I saw a lot of that. Also, when Sam takes the call from Detective Bailey to say that Kirby has been expelled from the FBI for 2 months and da-da-da-da, behind her shoulder is Debbie Salt's outfit from Scream 2.
Oh, geez.
It's 3 shots. There's one where she goes to take the call. It's there. And then she turns. It's kind of blurry. And then she's talking to him and hearing the rest of it. And Debbie Salt's outfit is right behind her. That's fucking intentional. That's a nice telegraph. But I was like, and a second time, I'm like, I think it was. And so the second time I saw it, I was like, there it is. There. Yep. She stops right in her tracks with Debbie Salt's outfit in the background.
I do love when Mindy and Kirby, they're in the van and they're talking about how, like, this is literally how our uncle got killed, was in a van while doing, like, in daylight. And they're like, oh, yeah.
And they actually traced the call. The weird thing was, the whole movie, like, Richie, the creepy thing when she gets the phone calls from Ghostface is coming from Richie. And that's like, that spooked me the first time. I'm like, oh, I felt like Sam would have when you saw, you're like, whoa, wait, what? Like, because you think, we're moving on. Oh, there's Richie. Like, what's going to happen? They're going to call from, like, Roman Bridger's phone? No, because he had his son's phone because it was his fucking son. He's a police
Yep.
officer. He could have probably cloned it too.
Yeah.
Which is the first time a person of the law has ever been involved with.
And that is different. There is no Ghostface that has ever been a person of the law.
We've had
So
suspects. We've had Dewey in the first one. We've had Detective Kincaid in Scream 3. We've had Deputy Judy in Scream 4. Definitely some have been law enforcement, but they've never actually been that person, and that person can skew things to make even the most ridiculous shrine, because they signed the shrine was used from the guys from Atlanta to put their merchandise, to complete it, to have a place for it put in under their name. And
it was interesting that the guys that were the fake Ghostface or whatever at the beginning, Jason and Greg, were from, when they said they're from Atlanta.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's where Kirby is based, his FBI. Interesting.
Which she was following their stuff already.
So it was, I mean, like, it was, well, I mean, I appreciate the level of detail that they put into connecting all those dots. And I do think it is scarier to have a ghost face that is a police officer,
right,
for that exact reason. You can manipulate evidence, you can manipulate a lot of different things, and you are not safe, because if as the girls are, they're like, okay, we're with the cop. Well, yeah, but if a cop is bad, then you are not safe, and no one's going to come rescue you because they think you already have.
But also, it's like, how do you get all this evidence? Like, well, he's a cop.
Yeah,
I'm sure he's got.
I absolutely loved the shrine, though. I loved taking the tour and seeing every little thing and all of
and Richie's drawings. Those were Richie's drawings. That's what the crazy thing. Just shows how it makes the previous film even better, because you can see what an obsessed person he truly was, rather than him just telling you. You kind of get to see a little more. So I think it improves him even more in the previous
guys
ones.
From the beginning, were they followers? They were followers of Richie in his path, right?
They were
trying to complete his movie, essentially, or
I think that Detective Bailey convinced them to do what they were doing. I don't think they knew he was.
Telling them to do
I don't think they knew he was Rich's father, but he was somebody who probably posed as one of them to get them to, and say they had this collection of Richie's stuff to give to them, and then convinced them to sign into that building.
I wonder why. At what point did he have to take him out? Because if he was out killing the teacher, and then Dermot had to be there killing Greg.
Yeah, Dermot's a killer in the opening for sure.
Unless they were all in on it, I guess, as far as like, hey, you're gonna go out tonight and do your kill, but he wasn't supposed to kill.
He wasn't, and that's probably what happened. But they were also
officially happened, but no one knew it was a ghost face that did the killing.
Yeah. Well, they did. I mean, they probably were putting two and two together, and those are probably things that were throwing off the police too, with those killings. Because there's Samara Weaving's killing. Was it like the same killer as the guy upstairs who had the stuff, or he killed her? Or like it's probably, and it was also there to plant the ID card of Sam, who might have been going after these guys looking to avenge Richie. Was
and all the masks, which you
part
worked
of setting
so hard
her
to
up.
get everything together. Why are you just dropping off masks? But then again, you're at the police department. Never mind, you're going to get them back. Never mind, they're going to go to evidence.
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
Masks that they were leaving, which is kind of a nod to Roman Bridger, who left clues behind when he was killing, because he left the pictures of Sydney's mom, and he left masks counting down the killers. Which also they have that neat little yarn board scene where they confirm that Jill is dead and that Roman was alone in his killings.
Yeah.
But it said dead question mark by Stu.
No, it said dead underneath. It was who's the mask. It was a question mark regarding who's wearing
because the masks, they had question marks. Yeah, because was it Jill had a question mark, right? Because it was Charlie's mask that was fine.
Oh, I thought that's Stu. Because even at the end when she's talking about
no,
the go, is he really dead though? Or I go, ooh, is he?
No, officially, I paid extra attention to that scene, and it really did say dead 1996. So it was under its photo, he was dead. The question mark was just referring to mask evidence, which is misleading. But and then like the final, so Stu's mask was worn by Quinn, and Billy's was obviously Dermot Mulroney, and Ethan got Debbie Salt and Nancy's, and then he even put it on her suit at the end when he took it off, he like put it on the actual suit.
Which, have we ever had Debbie Salt's actual name before? We just had Mrs. Loomis, and they named her Nancy Loomis.
I thought it was Nancy in the second one.
I don't remember. I remember they only called her Debbie
She
Salt.
introduced herself as Debbie Salt, I think.
Debbie
when
Salt,
she
but
was
they said
the interviewer.
and then when she's revealed, it's like Mrs. Loomis. That's all they say, and they called her Nancy Loomis. Who's the name of the actress who plays Annie in the original Halloween. So I have to wonder if that's another nod over there to Halloween, because Billy Loomis was a nod to Sam Loomis, which was a nod to Psycho. So I have to wonder if they named her Nancy Loomis to nod back to Halloween. It's just my wonder.
Yeah, maybe. I feel like she did have a name Nancy in the second one, but maybe not. But it didn't seem weird when they said Nancy Loomis. It was like, yeah, that's her name.
The Halloween freak I am, I was like, what? For this, I was like, Nancy Loomis. I don't remember her being Nancy. I would have remembered her being Nancy Loomis because that's she married Tommy Lee Wallace. She was also in Halloween 3, The Fog, and Assault on Precinct 13. She was one of the original John Carpenter players. Her name is now Nancy Keys. But she's Nancy Loomis back
Did
then.
you see the most random kind of Easter egg in the movie, at least, was the voice Roger L. Jackson, who does Scream voice. He also does the voice of the monkey guy from what animated show? Oh my god, I'm forgetting it. Either way, they had that character on the subway, like the voice that
Oh, really?
Roger, the animated character's voice. They had somebody dressed up as that character.
Oh,
And
that's
now
cool.
I have to look that up now.
That subway. So this one has a load of like banger sequences. Like this has the opening we liked, with the alleyway and stuff, and then there's the bodega scene that was in the trailers. Did not disappoint. It's awesome.
Nope.
There's the ladder between the apartments. With you know what's crazy though? He is like the beating on the door to get through and holding the dresser there is so well done. It's frightening. There's of course there's Gail in her apartment's awesome. There's the finale's big, grand, lots of cool stuff going on there. Forgetting one in there. The subway pays off really good too. It's slow, it's creepy, it's got a lot of masks of other horror things. Like they've got Michael Myers from OG Halloween. They've got Rob Zombie Michael Myers. They got Pinhead Freddy. They've got Sam. There's a lot of fun masks to be had in there, and that sequence really works well.
There was
you're
a
like,
Wednesday at the college party.
There was
there was a Wednesday at the college party. Yeah, there was the Shining twins.
I thought there were at the therapist office. I thought there was an Addams Family like Funko
There
Pop.
was.
Okay.
There was.
I was like, okay, we got some little Addams Family nods in there for
it was Mojo Jojo was is what Roger L. Jackson voices on the Powerpuff Girls. And they had Mojo Jojo dressed up on the subway.
Gotcha. Yeah, the Wednesday stuff's interesting because when they were shooting this, Wednesday probably hadn't blown up yet. She'd have been known to have been in it, but it hadn't blown up yet. So that's.
I wonder if anything that they could just throw in for all the actors, they probably did. Which I wish I could have just paused it.
Yeah.
But maybe I can go back and just watch it again.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got time. The theater's probably still. There's no one working. I can just go in.
There you go. Yep. Wander in.
Right in, actually. This way? Okay, thanks.
Oh, I did love, so I always love it. The roll call for the film is on the sheet that was playing Richie's fan film. Like when they were showing the actors and the names, it's the sheet from the theater that they're projected on to show. That was just cool. Did anyone stay to the end of the credits? There was a post-credit scene.
Mindy. Yeah,
Just
not every movie
Mindy.
needs a.
Yeah. Like
not everyone needs a post-credit scene or something. What I'm trying to remember what else was something that was interesting, and it'll come to me in a second, I'm sure.
Yeah,
we can go.
I was really high on this movie leaving on Thursday night, and I was like, okay, now I'm going to see it a second time. We'll see. And there are some cracks in this, like in making this all work for things. Like, for instance, if this was as high a profile case of the previous movie, where people recognize Sam on the street and their big deal about the internet calling Richie innocent, like nobody knows who Richie's father is. Like he wouldn't have been on
No
news
Yes.
or
joke.
like Gail wrote a book. Gail lives in New York. Well, he transferred to New York. They make sure to say that. So it could have been after the killings and stuff. But like I feel like he's a person like, and the fact that his father was a police officer too would have brought some more attention to that case. That I'm wondering, like, no, but like I feel like Sam's like, fuck, I don't want to watch. I feel like Sam doesn't even watch much TV, so I could see like her not and wanting to distance herself from that whole thing, and Richie being a loner moving out to California, never talk about much about family, never seen his family. I get that, I can buy that. But like Gail not going, that's Richie's dad,
Yeah.
guys, or like Kirby, who's really into Ghostface stuff. Maybe she knows, and she's like slowly waiting to pin like this is real. He's really doing this, and she doesn't have enough. But
She's gonna
like,
catch him in the act.
but like, he's a person of stature, so that's the crack for me. That I was like, how did nobody go like, well, these Ghostface kid things are happening, Detective Bailey, again. Your son, like, you're off this fucking case, or like,
No
like,
joke. They would have
Yeah.
known, right? Unless they all lied about who his son died and he didn't go to the funeral and he acted like, I don't know who
because
the guy
it's
is.
confirmed he really is a police officer. He's not posing. He didn't kill somebody and take their place. He's a
Yeah.
police officer.
But maybe Gail didn't
Yeah.
do investigative work because she didn't write the book right away. But she did because it's only been like a year. So
Yeah.
And is Richie's last name Bailey too? Like,
I didn't know Richie's last name was not Bailey, actually. What
yeah.
is Richie's last name? Now I need to know. But yeah, I did struggle with that going. I did after seeing it the second time I left theater going, how did no one know who Richie's father was this whole time? It was a very bizarre thing for me.
Get the siblings, and he's like, my name's not even Ethan.
Richie Kirsch.
Yeah.
Richie Kirsch.
Kirsch. Yep. Kirsch.
So,
So different mama? Maybe? Different
maybe,
baby mama?
maybe, yeah.
Yeah, and
God,
what's
I
the
don't
mom
have to
doing
kill
with all
everyone
this?
for my half brother. Gosh. Like,
Yeah, and that's the other thing. If it is a half brother, then why are these kids so obsessed with Richie, like, and doing their father's bidding? Like, I wish the kids turned on their father.
Yeah.
And like I don't know. It's just something. It is weird that nobody knew who the father was. Like, because they explained that really well in Scream 2, at least, where like Nancy Loomis lost a lot of weight and like changed her whole look up.
Had some work done. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can get like Quinn. I get like she seems like to enjoy the internet portion of destroying somebody. I'll buy that. I get that. Ethan, he just seemed like a fucking lunatic. I guess that's
I
what we're
hate
supposed
him.
to go. So,
Ugh.
but that's where the cracked show for me on this thing. Like, yeah, because
So
what?
No, you talk.
Okay, so I'm like killings, like I said. So Samara Weaving, obviously Flash Thompson from Spider-Man. Then he's killed by him and Greg. Detective Bailey obviously killed him. The apartment attack, the bodega incident, and the apartment attacker Ethan, obviously. Then
Wait, you think the bodega is Ethan?
He's not there. And Detective Bailey calls her from Flash Thompson's house at the. That's why she leaves the bodega to come down to the police station. And Quinn is up is up there with them in the apartment. So the only person left is Ethan, who the next scene you see him says he was at econ, but as we said, how are they gonna go figure
I thought
that
it was at econ during. Oh, well, no, the bodega though was before. Wait, so it goes bodega and then the apartment
Yep.
scene.
Mm-hmm.
No, but he was in the apartment,
Oh,
wasn't he? Because
yeah,
he was in the apartment
was in
because
the
the
apartment.
phone rings. Yeah, the phone rings and he's like, "What? What's the big deal?" And then like
Okay.
yeah. So I thought it was the Detective Bailey, especially because of the shotgun thing. That makes sense for a cop to be able to do that.
But well, the thing is, like, so she calls. During that scene, she makes Quinn call her dad,
Yeah.
and they talk, and he's at Flash Thompson's apartment. So, unless that place is just a block or two away, he says, I'm going to need to have you come down. Or she took 2 hours to wait to like come down.
Oh, that's what bothered me about this movie. Thank you for saying that about time. what was up with the Gale kill? They're in the daylight, and then they steal the cop car, and now it's pitch black, and Gale's getting like attacked by like dusk or whatever, and getting attacked. They were on like 72nd. No way. It takes like 10 minutes, not even, to drive from 72nd to 96, or you could have walked it in that period of time. There was no way it would have been dark by the time it happened.
So it was like 7:45 when the thing started, and then when they got there, it was like 8 and got dark. I was wondering that too. Well, no, because I was wondering that too when I saw it the second time, because I was like, it's the part I'm like, wait, it's still bright. Like Gale gets killed. Gale gets like attacked at night. Like what?
Yes.
So
well, when the call happens, it's still still sunnyish. Like I know the transition happens relatively quickly, but the fact is, it was daylight when they stole his cop car, and by the time she is killed and all that, like that minimum of an hour went by between them stealing the cop car and Gale's dark death. So. Well, almost death, because this movie is all about the fake up. That time jump bothered me so much more this time watching it. It just didn't make any sense on how get there sooner, because they show up and then they like shoot. They shoot at Ghostface like just in the nick of time before he like pushes down with that knife for the final blow on it. And it's like, why didn't you get there sooner? Because that Gale scene is at least like 10 minutes. It was like literally you could have gotten from 72nd to her house in the time of this call. It's that easy to do. I know the time distance. So that is a major crack that just kind of annoyed me. What were they?
They got held up by the doorman, and they had to negotiate and pull themselves up on the internet and say, "Look, this
and
is
then how did Quinn get into the building? How did Quinn get into her apartment?
Her dad's a cop.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, but honestly, that is kind of how I justified a lot of things, as like the dad figured it out as a cop.
Well, I think he killed the psychiatrist.
Oh,
she tells him about it, and he's killed like 2 scenes later. So then Ethan is the latter kill. Quinn is, Gale Weathers, and Mindy, and then it's Ethan and Quinn in the finale. So it's pretty easy to tag who's where with it, except that bodega scene's kind of hard.
I thought it was the detective, because he probably could have said he probably could have left the crime scene.
He probably, you know what he could have been like? He said, I'm gonna need you to come down the office, but then he could have said like in about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So in the hour and a half, he could have made it down there. Ethan could have left their house. Quinn's probably not the person in that one. So it's because he wouldn't have been like, I'm gonna need you to come down the station while I'm still at this crime scene. So I'll give. Okay, so we'll put
and Ethan and Quinn, since they're both so attached to all of them, they're texting the whole time, being like they're on the move or they're doing this.
Yeah.
So like everybody knows. That's why I guarantee you. See, I kind of wish now there was more. I mean, now I need to watch it a third time just to see if you ever see them.
It's like a good movie to watch again, because it moved pretty good for me the second time. I was like, this is a 2-hour slot. I'm like, and it moves pretty good. It's fun.
Yeah, because like Ethan on the subway, like I'm sure he's probably like I want to see if like Ethan's ever just like on his phone texting, because then it would be like
they're not looking for Quinn. She can be following them with sunglasses on or something like that. That she can be right behind them at all times, looming around the group, and they
but Ethan is the one giving but I'm sure but between Ethan and Quinn and the detective, they're all able to text each other on where everybody's whereabouts are. So like Ethan kind of by default, Ethan kind of set by them having Ethan around at all times, they kind of screwed themselves over because they were keeping an eye on him. But then he was literally telling the other ghost faces, like, we're right here, right now. I'll come on by. So he was able to do all of that, which is why Quinn was able to get into Gale's and So
did every death happen with the ghost face? Was it the same mask that committed every murder? I thought it was for a second, but
it was
mask.
Bailey in the bodega, because it was.
He had the he had the mask. So it was Bailey. Bailey starts it off. He's every every kill here. Yeah.
That's true. And the one in the apartment and the ladder was not the Billy mask. So yeah, you can determine who the killer is based on the mask.
Yeah.
This is the first time you've been able to do that. So yeah.
And
But
then
I thought yeah.
And then Sam gets to wear that mask and kills Detective Bailey awesomely.
Oh,
Like,
I love this.
Love
like,
that.
oh yeah,
Stab.
and then right in the fucking eye,
Yeah.
boom.
Oh yeah, I cheered during that whole moment.
It's
It
good.
was great.
It's so good. And then yeah, Jenna Ortega being like, "Come on now, do it," you know. But yeah, and then they hamstring Mindy into the final scene where it's like, "Oh, we couldn't keep her there." I'm like,
I liked it.
and then I noticed the second time you can hear she goes, "I can't feel anything below my
Yeah,
shoulders."
yeah, I know. I
Like,
heard that.
fine, you earned it. Fine.
I was
She
so
wasn't.
happy. She's like, did I miss the monologue? Or
Yeah. So you know the next one she's gonna be there for the monologue.
oh, she's gonna be the Oh my gosh, what are they gonna do next time? If this
Okay,
is a
so
franchise,
let's move on.
Yeah.
Scream
No
7.
clue, no.
Where do we go? So will Tara be in another opening scene and survive it? Because she's been in 2 opening scenes with a killer and survived it.
Oh, that's true. She was in this opening. Very subtle, but she
In a
was.
it's
On the
so
way-
creepy. You're watching that creep, and then he talks to Tara friendly, and you're like, oh Lord. You're like,
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
save me a drink. Yeah.
What's with Tara and Sam's mom, who is now an awful person because they talk about, so she's just gone in the last one. And this one's like, what's up with your mom? They're like, well, she wrote me off because I told Tara, and then Tara wrote her off because she wrote me off.
Yeah.
So mom
well,
is
but
absent.
just like the third one, you're gonna find out she changed her name and she's actually a Hollywood star.
Yeah, that's what I'm
and
wondering.
there's
Do
gonna
they
be
model-
headshots everywhere? And
I don't think they can get away with modeling off another Scream again because it would be expected. So you weren't expecting them. Even in this movie, they're like, they won't do Stab 2 again while they're doing Stab 2. You can't do that. That's
Billy got someone else pregnant.
Yeah.
And there's a half sister out there or half brother.
That's out the window. There's
Yeah.
Core 4. I'm sorry. One of them's got to go.
One's got to go. They
Now-
can't keep 4 through the whole thing.
They pulled it off with this one. Make it like there's Mindy like, oh no, oh I think she could pull through this, and then Chad like, oh shit, that's the one they offed, and then they're all alive again. Someone's gone, and it can't be Cute Boy. That's cheap, but he would be the Cotton Weary of Scream or Scream 7 if they do that.
That's true.
But one of them's got to go. They got to. But I don't know what. I trust Radio Silence. I like what they're doing so much right now. I'm like, so Paramount wants, from what I read this weekend, they want Scream 7 shooting no later than October. And people are like, what? Rush. I'm like, you realize some of the most mediocre shit we get is overthought right now. I'll take something looser that's going, like Scream. Could Scream have had less cracks here had they not shot it so fast? And I don't think they shot it so fast because they were sitting on a movie that got delayed because of COVID and stuff. So people were doing other things. It wasn't like you're right back in the saddle, but also like slashers were never meant to be this overly thought thing. They were like, how do we do this weekend? Go get another one of those Friday the 13th in production. Go do another one. So speed is part of the essence of what makes slashers so fun and great. Scream 2 was rushed. That's my favorite. And stuff. This one was rushed, I guess. It's fine. Like, don't take slashers so damn seriously. Have fun with them. Give them some of the things. We've criticized some of the faults in this movie, but we still enjoy it. We understand what it is. But when you're like sitting there breaking down, the only Scream movie that has credibility of like, they could have actually pulled this off is the first one. Okay. That's the only one that really has the least amount of cracks in it. But like, I'm all for, if everyone's game, go hurry up and make another one. That's fine, because you won't overthink something. You won't have some ridiculous plot of like, well, like the overthought I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, Scream 3's like chance things that happen. Just go with what you got. If some things are messy, that's fine. As long as I have fun, you keep this cast working like this. I trust it. Like they know what they're doing.
even if you bring back like let's see, Sam goes to a therapy group and she sees Mr. Loomis there because it's like a therapy group for family members of serial killers.
Grandpa.
And then also her mom's there too, and it's like this whole big family reunion. And
Scream.
it's like I think of
Scream 3. She goes back to Woodsboro to reconnect with her grandfather, Billy's dad.
Yeah.
And killings happen again in Woodsboro.
I don't think they're going. Yeah, they're not going to go back to Woodsboro.
I would stay away from. I would keep Sydney gone. I don't think Gail needs to come back. If you can find a way that doesn't feel like forced, Kirby could come back.
I think Kirby's coming back no matter what. I think Kirby's coming back.
But like Gail, if they offed her here, I'd have been like okay with it because it was a good scene, like a good fight, a good like Gail Weathers thing to go out on. But she's alive, so maybe a phone call or.
No, is Gail the opening kill?
It was Gail.
Gail be the
Jesus
opening
Christ,
kill?
that poor woman.
Oh, I hope she has a true crime podcast, and then they're just listening to it or something, or somebody is.
Like,
or
well,
if killer. Oh.
I mean, her scene in this would have been one of the best opening kills. Like if the but like they've already like they gave her the best kill sequence and didn't kill her like that unless they're like, oh, remember when Gail, we thought she was gonna pull through and she died? Yeah, we were sad. Like, or
that's true.
Scream 7 opens at Gail Weathers' funeral because she lasted a few months and then died. And Ghostface haunts the cemetery or something.
He starts killing people at the cemetery.
Yeah, at the cemetery. I don't know. I don't know what a motive could be. We now have revenge on Sam for what she did. So I don't know who comes after who. What like? It's interesting.
Yeah, I really don't know what.
That's stuff for us to figure out. But geez, it's you ponder like if I were tasked with writing Scream 7 and I had to bring back these 4, do it like, yeah.
Well, then, like, where they would have to, they're cranking it out so quickly, they're going to still be in New York. There's no reason for them to be in New York. Why would they quit school? That was the whole point.
I did see people criticizing that they didn't like New York it up, but I like that it felt like a lived in New York. Like I felt like it wasn't like, oh, well, we're in Manhattan getting chased by Ghostface. Because that's the thing I think people mostly like, they didn't see Manhattan. Like there's more to New York than Manhattan Times Square or whatever. I think that's what people just associate.
Park?
They got Central Park was in there. That you had
the Upper West. Like that's all my neighborhood. I felt very connected to New York in this movie.
There you go, folks. There. Because I mean, I felt like it felt like the lived in New York. Like you had the subway, like a realistic subway scenes. You had the bodega sequence that felt like, an alley, like a restaurant, 100%. Like felt like what people who live in New York do, not like tourist New York.
Agreed. Like that's the thing is like that campus would have been. Well, I was confused where they wanted the campus to be. With like if it was that like
it had its own subway stop. It had its own subway stop. I noticed in the second one.
So I think they were trying to make that seem like it was Washington Square Park area, which would have been West 4th, and then Gail lived Upper West, which makes sense where they were in Central Park on like 72nd when they stole the cop car, because I knew that area. So they covered most of Manhattan. That honestly, most of where I spent my time. I spent most of my time in Greenwich Village and West Village, and I spent most of my time on the Upper West. I rarely ever spent any time in Times Square unless I was going to a Broadway show. That maybe they could do differently in the next one where they have like Ghostface like inner well, that's true. Maybe if they're trying to do something weird with 7 and following the path of 3 instead of going Hollywood, they go New York would and like do like theater based instead of like a movie production, but a theater production that's happening and Ghostface terrorizes all of that. Who knows? Maybe like
Stab the musical.
I mean, I hope not that it doesn't go that way, but I mean, there's stuff they can do, but it felt very New Yorky to me. I don't know what they would have wanted except for a Times Square thing, which I thought would have been tacky. I think the subway is a perfect example because that actually happens. People get stabbed on the subway like in a group of people and you don't realize. And I
Yeah.
think it was perfect when Mindy got stabbed and there was that girl sleeping, not even like noticing what was happening. I'm like,
Yeah.
that track, like on the subway, I probably like, I mean, I don't think I've ever witnessed anybody get stabbed, or well, I mean, I would have been aware of it, but I mean, there are many times where I'm not aware of my surroundings on the subway.
I
So
mean, I haven't been in New York riding subways stuff for a long time, but like for my first couple of years when I lived in Los Angeles, I did public transportation on those subways and the buses, and that could have happened. Nobody would give a shit. The bus driver wouldn't have known until they called it a night and parked at the station that you were stabbed dead in a bus. Or
Yep.
in the subway, I don't even know if they know people are on it half the time. Like
Yep.
in LA. Like, so it's not as, you can find times on a subway in New York or in LA where it's not crowded at all. But even then's even spooky because you could get stabbed on a 3-person ride and one's gonna just be like, "Oh, I hope they get me first, that guy first," and it stops and I'm out,
Ugh.
and then nobody would check till the end of the night. Like, but yeah, that's the public
Yeah.
transportation system. So,
So we do think it'll be in New York. In number 7 will be in New York then, probably.
I would think they'd keep it going. They got, it worked for a freshness here. There's still a lot of ground to cover with creating sequences that they haven't touched yet there. So
Spring break. They're going to go to the Hamptons or Jersey Shore or
Oh my God,
Atlantic
Jersey.
City.
yeah, they could do a pier or something. That would be for an interesting sequence. Atlantic
could
City.
go-
We're going to Atlantic City, folks.
Ooh, and
They
Ghostface
could
will have
go.
the hook.
Girl Sam, we need to take you out gambling in Atlantic City and see all the lights.
Oh my God, Ghostface in Vegas, actually. Let's do that.
All right, all
Sounds
right.
fun.
Vegas. No, or they could go to the island that they went to in I Still Know What You Did Last Summer and
There you go.
really bring it home. Where they're just like, you know what? We need to get out of the city and go on vacation. And look, we won this contest. Oh, that would be wild.
Oh,
The Core 4 got a contest win to take to an island
oh.
where they encounter Ghostface. But this is the first time I really don't know.
And it's beautiful. This is like that feeling after, good sequels do, and they self-contain themselves, and like after like Star Wars: The Last Jedi, we're like, I don't know where they go after this. It's unfortunate where they do go, but like it left so much like endless possibility of like, oh, I've not seen this before. I don't know what we do now. And it's an exciting place to be. Like after the first Star Wars, it was just like this endless world of possibilities of things to do. I don't know why I'm going with Star Wars or Scream, but
Well, because they even they reference it, a
they
legacy
do.
They do.
character has
Yeah.
to die.
Yeah.
You got to kill off Luke Skywalker for everything to keep going.
Mhm.
So if Mindy does her speech and she's talking about the franchise, what's the speech in the next movie? Is it become a saga? Like what's
Yeah, no, yeah, because it's a franchise. Because I didn't know what they were, the hook of this one would be, but they said franchise. Because I was thinking, Greg, you and I talked true crime,
Yeah.
which they'd mentioned true crime because they're like, you couldn't even sell movie rights to that. Like, well, all they want's a documentary or
yeah.
whatever. Which a documentary that would have interviewed Richie's father for it.
Yeah.
If maybe it was still in production. But yeah, so a franchise. So we've had scary movie slashers. We've had the sequels. We've had the trilogy, the concluding chapter in a trilogy. You've had the remake, and you've had the legacy sequel, and now you've had a franchise. Maybe the spinoff, or something like
the
that.
crossover?
Yeah.
With
I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. They're going to an island.
Yep. Well, I Know What You Did
Or
Last
Urban
Summer is coming
Legends.
back. Why would it come back? Why would I Know What You Did Last Summer come back? They
Oh.
side over. They
that
cross
would
them
be
over.
amazing. Well,
My
Freddie
name's Julie.
And Jason,
Freddie
right?
and Jason, yeah. Freddie and Jason crossed over.
I really want to do it now.
Well, the fisherman is like a real human. Well,
Yeah.
at least the first two. So, like a ghost face type of situation. It isn't
It's
just
funny
some
because
like thing.
so Scream is currently at Paramount. Urban Legend and I Know What You Did Last Summer are over at Sony under Columbia Pictures. So Sony has lent out Spider-Man. So there's that.
Do you think they'd even consider it? Or is it just too like jumping the shark?
I think they kept 4 legacies alive. They literally, for the most brutal Scream movie, it had the fewest deaths. Like, it's
this one
ridiculous.
had one more than the last one. It had 7. So the most kills, I believe, is which one had the most? I was counting them the other day. So Scream had like 5 or 6 kills. Scream 2 had 1 more, I think, 1 or 2 more. Scream 3 had a light amount of kills. Scream 4, I think, has the most kills.
Yeah, I think maybe. And then 5. Well, this one had the body count because they got the added people from the bodega, like the strays.
Yeah,
I
well,
guess
it's all strays. All the like Gail's
Yeah.
boyfriend, the bodega people, Greg. Like it's all like it's
Yeah.
mostly randos. You get Mindy's girlfriend is one of the deaths, and
It's like
yeah.
The 3 killers.
It of all the. I mean,
because they're focused. These killers don't want that. They want these people. That's who they want to pin it on. They want the 2 film nerd deaths to be Sam doing it, Tara confronting Sam about it and getting killed in the middle of it, and him finding it all. So, and spinning it as, look, it wasn't Richie, it was her.
Yeah, which again doesn't really work, but when you're neurotic like that, or not neurotic, psychotic, you'll make anything. Yeah, you'll believe it. I don't know.
But they want to have the court of public opinion from social media, which can influence an outcome on a trial or something, because people are like, oh, you know.
True. But like, yeah. Well, that's the other thing that was kind of funny about this movie, and it's not funny, it's just like everybody was kind of superhuman. Chad surviving still boggled my mind because I paid close attention to his attack, and it's so brutal, and it was like I could barely watch, but I don't know how he would have survived that. I just don't
because it's
understand.
a movie.
It's a movie. But then here's the other thing is Tara got stabbed in the back and in the front, and she's just strolling along without any bandages other than her arm that got like the least stabbed of all of her. Because when she's with Chad, Ghostface stabs her from the behind in the back, and she's like, ah, and then that seems to miraculously like not be a problem.
Well, she's immune to the stabbings. Remember the last movie? She got the shit stabbed out of her, went in the hospital, and then now she's immune to them.
Now
she's,
it's just scar
you know what?
That was her vaccine. Yeah, she had. She had one on her hand, a scar.
She didn't have the scar on her hand. I was gonna say I want to know if they had the continuity.
They all had They all had scars on them, and I noticed a lot. They had scars randomly on them. Like Mindy had a scar. I saw. I think Chad. I saw at one point had there was like a scar to play. I'm like, okay, they are noting that these kids were attacked.
Great.
It's like that one season of Walking Dead where they all decided like, let's add scars to everybody since we've been out for a while. I think they all like suddenly had like noticeable scars to show age or the toughness of what had happened. But yeah, so yeah, Scream 7, very excited. Apparently if they're shooting when they say they're gonna shoot, we'll see it next year. Hopefully they keep these like, you know, non-summer dates going or whatever, keep it in a time where it can pick up some money. If they're confident enough, it could be the Halloween release next year.
Was it weird that this movie, like 6, took place on Halloween? That's like the first time Scream's
it was
Halloween.
It was in the Halloween season, yeah. So
yeah, that was fine. I mean that was believable.
It added to Ghostface being able to walk around New York is what it did, and having all the people in the masks for that reason. Which shows how sick our world is that they were all putting it on, and which you don't go, you're like, no,
he
people
murdered
would do
real
that.
people. It's not just a movie.
Yeah, it's not a movie in these, but it is a movie in these. I don't.
Yeah, the people who the fact that this group, the core 4, is seeing all these Ghostface masks and are like, they're on edge, but they're still a little too comfortable around it. But I guess they've been desensitized for their whole lives because this franchise, the Stab franchise in their universe has been going on. That I guess they're so like used to the mask, but then it like actually happened to them. So
how would they incorporate Stab in the next one? Because Stab has been it's the thing that is all the sequels have in common is something to do with Stab. This one has the shrine to the Stab movies and the father of a guy with Richie. Like, what if Sam in the next one's going to court to try to stop a Stab movie being made off of her life.
Oh, that's true. There hasn't been a stab about her, so she's the new like Sydney in terms of now they're
But
doing
she's
like
trying to
a stab.
prevent it from happening.
Yeah.
And then that killer is trying to make it look like she's killing people from the production company because she's trying to prevent it from happening.
Oh, that's good. And that
And
would
you can
kind
go
of
to whatever city you want.
Yep.
Where they're having the hearings and stuff about her preventing it. I don't know. And Gail's there because she wrote the book on it and all that
Yeah.
stuff. And she wants the movie to get made, unlike Sam. So they're at odds again because you always have to put Gail at odds with everybody to start your movie. And yeah, so
Yeah, that
maybe.
would follow 3 as well. That would kind of follow the idea of like a movie thing, only instead of it actually in production, it's trying to stop production of a movie. Interesting. That I like. That would be believable to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like there would be the lawsuits happening, and then the killer is going after people involved in the film.
Because let's say they've already got people like director cast and some cast or something, and she's stopping the production. Maybe, and if you put Gail as the opening kill, it makes sense with this. I don't know, but and Kirby being the FBI, something
Yeah.
character witness or something. Yeah, you could. Maybe that's it. And that fits with the Scream 3 mold of there's a stab movie and Sam's there involved. So
And that would also make sense because they've been building up to Sam finally snapping and embracing her dark side. If there's a movie being made about her being evil, then maybe that was the trigger that made her snap, or at least people believe it. So there's more of a target on her back, even though she's not actually the killer. More people believe it now that like she's trying to stop the movie about her being a bad person. They're like, well, if she wasn't a bad person, she wouldn't try to stop the movie. And then they think that she snapped and did it. So
and if Tara is in college still, you could bring the mom in that signed stuff over about her being used because she was like a legal minor still or something, and said the mom was able to sign off against their wishes. So the mom's at odds with them on it. We can meet the mom, but Tara is in college, so I don't think
I don't think it'll work. I think she's at
we
least
can't do that because she's 18 now. They clearly make that she's a freshman because she's thinking about rushing somebody. So
yeah, Frankie makes a reference like, oh, freshman here. He does say freshman.
yeah, so she would be 18 unless she's an old 17-year-old.
Not by next year though.
Yeah, I was like, because that would be one thing to bring the mom in, that she would have signed Tara. Oh, she would have signed
Tara's
off on
dad
Tara.
still alive?
Yeah, he's gone. From
Yeah, Tara's dad is still alive.
It's their
Maybe
parents killing next time.
I think he's just gonna try to kill the mom.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's
Without
true.
the mask, though.
So
Maybe Ghostface.
That's true.
comes
What
back
if
and solves the crimes?
Yeah.
Ghostface solved it? I mean, well, what if the next movie is, well, then it would be like a pseudo revenge, but what if the next movie is like um Sam and Tara killing Ghostface in the opening, and then and then it really is the second killer doing like the other killer doing the rest of the movie. So that would be like the big reveal where instead of Ghostface doing the final into the title sequence, it's her doing like the final like unmasking, being like what, and then it's her killing.
Because these guys, the Radio Science, they definitely like playing with the expectations and the tropes of the opening scene. So we've seen it twice now. They lured us,
But they do keep stressing that no one is safe, including the leads and all that. So they could try to kill off Sam like in the opening. That would be the biggest shock of it all. They've spent all this time building up Sam, and then they like wipe her out. Fans would lose their minds because now I think everybody's on board with her. After 5, I don't think they were. I think they would have been like, oh, they killed her in the first like scene, haha, fun. I think after 6, they don't want to see her die.
No. I mean, any of them. I like all 4. Like, I would say Sam's probably my fave, but like, yeah, all 4 of them are. I'm like, oh, one of them's got to go, but it's gonna suck to watch one of them go. Because
Mindy's like my favorite.
Mindy, yeah.
I just like that she like analyzes everything, and you're on my list.
Yep.
I don't know if they're suspects. I love it.
Yeah, she's taken the whole Randy thing to such a great level. Like,
and it's
not
annoying. It's fun.
Jamie Kennedy walked so she could run. Like that's what that's what it is. Like, because we don't need to introduce the shtick, and she's not manic about it. She's like, it's fun, and like Yeah, she plays with it a lot, and like, yeah, good on Jasmine Savoy Brown. Like, she has really taken what was one note with Jamie Kennedy and fully fledged it into like a person who's more than the movies, knows the room that she's in with people.
Right.
Like, Randy was always like, every time it's this, every time, and then her, like, she can fit into any scene fine. Like, if you throw Mindy into something, it's gonna work. Like Randy, specific times we'd have him with stuff, but I liked Randy. He was fun, but Mindy's someone who has miles to go. He would have they offed Randy before it became tiresome. But yeah, so yeah, Scream 7. How's the logo gonna look? Where are they gonna put the 7? They did awesome with the 6 that I never even thought of until I saw it.
Love it.
I was like, oh, that's rad. That's sweet. Like
Love the 6.
the R, like would they do something and it spins? Or
Mhm.
You mean the
know.
A? I can't even. This is hard.
S7, the Scream Saga.
There you go.
There you
Or
go.
is it like the M again and then an exclamation point?
Yeah.
So it's like the V I is part of the M, and then the other I is the exclamation point. So you got like the two pillars, maybe. I know there was speculation when before Scream 6 was called Scream 6, they thought that it was going to be Scream with 2 exclamation points as this new movie as like a Scream 2, but not 2.
Oh, okay.
So that went around, and I think that was on one of the director's chairs or something like official. You saw like blood splatter exclamation, like a double thing. But like a 7 is like a weird, it could just be a 7 from behind. I don't know, just
Oh,
like
like
a
a
big,
slash, like a.
yeah, like a Zorro slash.
Well, yeah,
but
because
not.
when they had the title card for this, the 6 was behind it. It wasn't.
Yeah.
So, or they could like write Scream in the under the top of the 7 and have the 7 come down and be a knife or something, or blood.
Oh
I don't
yeah,
know. I don't know. We'll have to see.
yeah,
I trust him. I trust him. I remember when
yeah,
thinking Scream was a dumb title, and then I saw the movie and was like, that was brilliant. So, and then they went right back to 6. That's great. So, Scream now goes Scream, Scream 2, Scream 3, Scream 4, Scream, Scream 6. Like,
yeah. It's
funny.
weird.
It's weird, but it
But
makes sense if you see the 5th one. But yeah, so yeah, we've rambled almost as long as the movie with this, so I like that. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. We'll get back when Scream 7 happens for sure. But
yeah.
we plan on covering even more of this Scream inspired 90s horror. We're just getting started or something.
Yes.
But we'll be back at different times when we have different projects from these that I'm putting together different segments. Like, I don't know if we should do a Katie Holmes segment because she had a couple of things, or other Kevin Williamson, but then Katie Holmes would be in that too. And then there's the franchises that resurrected because of Scream, like Halloween and Chucky, Jason, like but then it's like, wait, because the end of this is Freddy versus Jason. And do we want to do the end of this right away, where the final movie, because that's where I like to say it ended, because Freddy versus Jason came out in August, and then in not September, was it September or was it October? The Platinum Dunes Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake came out, and things changed completely. And then Saw came out the next year, and the J horror, like the Ring, the Grudge, boom, all that Scream stuff was gone. Like immediately. Like Freddy versus Jason is probably like the last high profile. There's probably some stuff that exists past then, but you never know. And Lover's Lane is coming to Blu-ray finally from Arrow Entertainment next. That's also another Hook guy, but it's coming April from Arrow Video. So there's more stuff to go over. But yes, so thank you two for taking on this week by week task. Appreciate that very much. Before we go, give your with your where can I find you at? Give your Scream rankings as of right now after seeing Scream 6. So we'll go with Greg.
Okay, you can find me at the McGoonies, and my rankings is gonna be so hard to do, but I'm gonna go 1, 4. Yeah, I know. 4 is my second choice. 1, 4, 6, 2, and 3 and 5 are tied for very different reasons.
Okay, Jessica.
Gosh, this is hard. Twitter at Jay and Alsman, Instagram at Jessica Alsman. Number 1 is number 1. Oh gosh. 1, 5, 4, 6, 2, 3. No, I can't do this. You know what? That's fine. I'll leave it there.
All right.
That's hard.
Me, Twitter, Instagram at BritBookUHD, written work on whysoblue.com. I got 2, 1. This is where I don't know 6 or 5 yet, but I'll go 6, 5, and then 3, 4.
You have 4 your end.
Yeah, 4 is the only one. Like, I'm liking it more as years go by, but that's the only one that's the only one I left the theater disappointed of all the Screams. Like, that is like 3. When I saw it opening weekend, I was like, oh, it was okay. And that one's like, in estimate, like, it's gone down as years has gone by. 4's gone up a little. Wait, did I have 4 at the end? I meant 4, 3. Sorry, 4 is not at the end. 4, 3.
Okay.
4, 3. But 4 is really the only one I've left like, after. Still not crazy about it, but I appreciate it more as it goes on. Easily, it's watchable. Like, all these, like, can be put on and watched. Even 3, like, as I said, like, because it's got strong factors to it. But that would be now. But like 6 and 5 are in this weird spot of like, I think I like them the same, but I don't know which I'd pick over the edge. So right now I'm high on 6, so I'll go with 6, 5. Even though I really like what's going on right now. I'm in a very similar spot to after 1 and 2 coming out back in the 90s. So I'm like,
I'm redoing this. 1, 2, 5.
You just bumped
3.
2 up a lot.
Yeah.
2. I really did like 2.
You had that in 5th place.
I forgot
And now it's
about
second
it.
place?
It still was fun and had all the original core and Dewey. So it's like 1 and 2. I will always stick by 1 and 2, and then fight for the finish. Everybody else, how's that?
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
now,
wow.
4. I'm the only one standing up for 4. You had it in your second spot, and now I do. But here's the thing, though. If we're talking quality of movies, it's a very different list for me than watchability of movies.
Okay.
Because if it's watchability, then it's like 1, 4, 3, then probably 2, 6, 5. Like 5 I've seen a few times, but like I don't feel like I'm clamoring to watch it more. And 2, I think, is actually a pretty strong movie. I just don't really enjoy watching it over and over for some reason. But 3 is so campy and over the top that it's such an easy watch. And 4 is such an easy watch. So that's where it gets tricky, is like a lot of really good movies I don't want to watch all the time, but a lot of like ridiculous movies I do want to watch.
I get you because it'll take your attention away from what you're trying to do with background on. I get
it.
Exactly.
That's the best part. Now that it's a franchise, you don't have to decide what's your favorite because it's all about your mood at that time.
Yep.
There's always number 1 for how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But I stand by 4 being good. So
there we go. Fair enough. But we have fun. We like these movies. We like the franchise, all this stuff, and we've gone through it. It's better than Urban Legend. It's better than I Know What You Did Last Summer, as we went through those. Like, it's a clear jump in the Scream movie, even the worst of Screams from those other movies. Even though I think the production value in that first I Know What You Did Last Summer is up there with the Screams. I don't think the script is as good or clever, but that first I Know What You Did Last Summer, and I think the 2 Urban Legends are pretty fun, though still we're far away from Scream territory with them.
There's just a lot of magic that happens in I Know What You Did Last Summer, like the vanishing tricks.
Yeah. And I'm very excited to talk about Valentine with the 2 of you when we get there, because I do like that one quite a bit. So
I like Valentine.
So when we get to that, we'll get to that. Probably coming this fall. Because we'll have the summer of 82 or summer of 93 at 30 coming up. Coming up on this show next week, nothing, because this dropped on a Thursday, so you can enjoy this all next week for this. And I don't know what my programming is because I'm very busy with the summer of 93 at 30 right now. Knee deep into that. We're actually into July of that. So, you know, if the world blew up today, you still have podcasts of that Well, no, you wouldn't be able to listen to it. So anyways, it's recorded. We have banked through that, so it's going pretty good. So we're getting ready to talk recording wise. We're getting ready to talk about the wonderful week of Rookie of the Year, Weekend at Bernie's 2, and In the Line of Fire. So that's where
Oh my God, I love that movie so much.
In the Line of Fire?
It was one of my favorites as
It's
a child.
badass. It's awesome.
One of my favorite movies as a child.
I have learned that Clint Eastwood is one of my favorite swearers on screen of all time. Like, he pulls it off. And it's also our second week in a row where movies had Gary Busey and Tobin Bell. So it's like Boys of Summer right there, right? Tobin Bell, Gary Busey. Long-haired, blonde Tobin Bell. So, but yeah, so the Brad Peters Show, we'll be back. Check the socials for when I make an announcement as to what it might be. I know Troy Brownfield and I are working on trying to get another Satanic Panic episode up soon, so it's probably going to be something around that lines and other wacky things as I fill time as we count down to the summer of 93 at 30 coming soon. So for now, thank you for screaming with us. Appreciate it. If you just checked in for this episode, go back and listen to our other 5. Tell us how we did, and share your thoughts on Scream 6 as well. So until then, stay phone positive.
Thank you for listening. The Brandon Peters Show is a Creative Zombie Studios production. Produced by Brad Shoemaker and Brandon Peters. Written and edited by Brandon Peters. Announcer vocals by Jessica Alsman. Theme song by Metavari. Web design and show art by Brad Shoemaker with Brandon Peters. All music and clips featured in the episode are property of their respective studios, and no infringement is intended. Additional information on this and other episodes at BrandonPetersShow.com. For any inquiries, press opportunities, or sponsorship, contact mail at BrandonPetersShow.com. The show is available on Apple Music, Spotify, or anywhere podcasts are found.